There's no crisis in heaven right now.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Tell us not. They have taken Ted's job. It's been recalled. Oh my God. God is not in panic because of what has happened. It is written on the palm of his hand. Peace, love, and harmony.
What do you feel are your achievements in the time that you've served as Consul General in LA?
I have served with my blood.
Yeah.
And with that, Tony, I am comfortable.
We actually went to the entertainment sector to fish Big Ted to be the Consul General in Los Angeles, hoping that we'll get a linkage and more partnerships in terms of the entertainment, considering that Los Angeles is the home of Hollywood and movies and entertainment industry in the US, which has not really happened.
If I tell this guy I'll be the president of Kenya, how will they accept it?
Come on, man.
Genesis 39:4-6. It says, and Joseph found favor in his eyes.
TCTV 1, USA.
I think we're the first gospel rap group in Kenya.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to TCTV 1 USA and the Tony Shira Show. Today's episode is just one of those that I must tell you, I've hunted down this man. And I mean, I don't even know how to appreciate it. I was the first person to try and approach him to do an interview with him when he landed in the US. That interview never happened, but guess what? He probably was sparing the best for last.
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, please
right.
help me welcome the Big Ted.
Thank you for having me. We'll have a great time.
Awesome. Big Ted.
Yeah.
Karibu sana to Tony Shira Studios
Asante
and
sana.
TCTV 1 USA.
Thank you. Great. Happy to be here and to just share anything which everybody has to ask and everything. I'm just here to have a good time.
Right.
Yeah.
First things first. I mean, like, people hear Big Ted.
Yes.
And a lot of people have different ideas, you know, like why did you become Big Ted in the first place?
Number one, I think I was big. I was pretty big. I remember very well that I was in a band. I was a roadie. A roadie is the guys who carry equipment,
Right.
and everything. I was just helping one of my big brothers. The band had Pete Odera, Sally Oyugi, Anne Murakinyo, and Ted Josiah.
Right.
So what happened is Pete said, like, every time he calls Ted, both of us go. So he wants there to be a complete, you know, if he says Big Ted, that's big.
That's
If
you.
he says Ted, then it's Ted Josiah.
Which is interesting because, like, I had this question I wanted to ask you. I mean, for the purposes of the people out there, because sometimes I speak to people about Big Ted, and back in Kenya, guys would think when I speak about Big Kev, that's Big Ted. God rest his soul.
Yeah.
And then some people think Ted Josiah is Big Ted.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
Who are these people to
They
you?
even
Who is
guys
Big
who- they even
Kev?
guys who
Who
call
is
me
Ted
Big Pin.
Josiah? And Big Pin. Although Big Pin is a little younger, right?
Yeah. So there's Big Kev, the late Big Kev. Big Kev was my cousin brother actually.
Right.
And we're just in the same industry. When he was working at Capital, I was at Kiss.
Yeah.
And both of us ran event companies and we're in the same sphere. And we grew up together, so we've always been together.
Right.
You know, but previously he was not Big Kev, he was just Kev.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's Ted Josiah, who now runs Joka Jock.
Joga Joke.
Yeah, an excellent leather product brand.
That's a big one.
Yeah, and previously a producer, executive producer, movie producer.
And music.
And ads and everything else like that. And then there is, of course, Big Pin. When
Right.
I go to Shags, they say, you're big, someone big, the Big Pin, you know, and everything. And then there's me, Thomas Kwaka, you know, I just a man who's been helped by God to scale some crazy heights.
Right.
And I think for me, this is how I describe myself. If you're to wake up in the morning and find an elephant on your roof, will you marvel or will you ask, how did that elephant get there? You know? But there must be a reason why the elephant is there.
Okay.
You know?
That's an interesting one, because there's an artist called Newton Karish from Bere who did a
Yes,
song,
yes, I remember.
the Modoni Kifagio one.
Yes.
But there's a song that he did that was asking, what do you do when you find a cow has entered the house?
Yes, and it's seated on your seat. Definitely, if you find an elephant on the roof, it must have been assisted to get there. And I think many times we marvel at people in places, people who we didn't think they would get there.
Right.
And sometimes we do that because of the things, of the perspectives that we have, or the prejudices that we have. You're like, Tony should not be in America.
Right.
You know, but if you meet Manu Chandaria here or Jeff Koinange, you'll be like, oh no, uku. So it's your perspective which has a problem, not the person.
Right.
The elephant is already on the roof. Deal with it from there.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's association in terms of like there's this kind of a person who should be in a certain place and maybe they are qualified to be in those places and maybe not ourselves.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make in life is that we as human beings qualify people, but we qualify people from our area or ignorance.
Right.
You know, for example, I can decide that you can't be. There's a comedian who goes around on TikTok, lifts weight. He's a power lifter, but he's very small bodied.
I've seen him.
And he dresses up like an old man and goes to the gym and waits for guys to lift something good.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happens. The perspective that you have will always place the other person in a box.
Right.
Even if they have great potential than what you think.
Yeah.
You know, many people who are big right now will tell you that nobody really thought I would do this, because they'd be like, how can you do it and you're not.
Right.
I don't think leadership or such positions are simply because of that. It's about passion, and also it's about God's design and plan for your life.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm noting that you actually skipped the part of mentioning it's Ambassador Thomas Kwaka. You're a very humble
because
person.
I think for me, you lead without title. Lead without title.
But this is the reality, man.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sitting with the ambassador.
If you're stuck on titles, you'll always get sidetracked. Let me tell you something, Tony.
Right.
Anything which people know you like, then they can control you. If people know that you love money, then if they pull away money from you, then there's nothing you'll do. If people know you love affirmation and they pull it out from you, they know what you'll do. You know, why are so many beautiful girls and handsome men with people who they're not meant to be with? Because those people provided something which they needed or they felt was going to actually affirm them. I'm not affirmed by nothing. I've lost so much in my life. I've gained so much in my life. Right now, I think in my life, there is nothing you can take away from me that you'll actually see me shedding a tear and crying and being like, oh my God, they took this, they took that. No.
Right.
Invest in things that people cannot take away from you.
Right. Talking about the background that made you Big Ted, I wanted to mention a few words that I've been hearing of late. Childhood trauma, trigger. You know, how did these words play on you in making you who you are?
Childhood trauma probably is because of something. I grew up in Eastlands, and I didn't grow up with much. That many people don't believe it, but I didn't grow up with much. And
were you like a firstborn?
No, I'm the thirdborn.
Okay.
You know, we walked about 7 or 8 kilometers to school in Nairobi. You know, daily, up and down. You know, sometimes you'd forget your lunch and you have to run back home.
Right.
Or forget a book, run back home and come back, and everything. And I'm from a humble beginning. Maybe not your carrying water from the river one, but mine is still humble.
Right.
You know, and it's my story, and nobody can take it away from me. But some of the childhood traumas that we have gone through, one is the thought that people from that particular place cannot be able to make it. Number two is you must have this for you to be that. Number four is just how your perspective of life is. There are lots of people, and I will be honest with you, I never ever thought I'd serve as an ambassador. It has never been in my dreams.
Yeah,
it has never been part of my dreams. And that's the problem, Tony. Most of the dreams and prayers that we have to God are never unique prayers. They are comparisons.
Right.
Tony has a podcast studio. Dear God, please give me a studio like Tony's. You cannot think, let me give me, like you can't see past this.
Right.
You know, and then, but also with life, that sometimes it happens that way, that only when you reach here, you're like, okay, I can actually do this. Now what next? So I've come here, I'm your ambassador. What's next?
Right.
Okay. In my heart, I'm thinking, maybe I can be the president of Kenya. You know?
Right.
I can be the governor of Nairobi or whatever.
Right.
So sometimes the higher you go, the view becomes better and it becomes more believable to yourself.
I want to move this to the entertainment industry, which is where we met many years ago. And how did you slide into, like, after school? Or at what point did you discover you are more interested in entertainment and not... I'm not suggesting that you were not interested in academics, but like you were drawn more into entertainment such that is where you ended up?
I think it was by mistake, but of course for God it was by design.
Right.
But for me it was by mistake. It's me finding myself in spaces that I'm able to own and I'm able to take to the next level. You know, so I'm pretty much happy to have been able to get blessings of people and places. For example, I went to help a friend of mine, one of my brothers, help with sound for this group, Ted Josiah and everybody. Through that I met Ted. And then Ted recorded my first track. This is about 30 something years ago.
Right.
And so I have a track.
Which people don't know that.
Nobody knows that I was a musician. So
Right.
I have a record Ted has recorded for me in his bedroom. It was a track called Open Up Your Heart.
Okay.
That was the first song I did in 1994.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And through Ted, I get into the group, and then I get into the group, we become friends. Through that, I've traveled a bit of the world with Pete as a sound engineer, and then I get into sound, and then I love sound. So it's always been a progression, and it's about you being in the right places,
Right.
you know, and everything. And then let me tell you something, Tony. Don't care so much about will people agree with me or welcome me. The thing you should be caring about is if I get into those spaces, is it, number one, God-designed spaces? Tony, if you go to a God-designed space, even if they hate you, God will still provide himself a sacrifice. You're still inside.
Right.
We always want an inside person, yet God is already on the inside. So, Tony, I live by very, very strange and unique perspectives of life.
You have very, very profound statements. I mean, I've listened to you many times and also read your blog. But I mean, when you talk about your first track in 94, Open Up Your Heart, it already sounds aligned. I know Pete Odera is very, very heavy gospel guy. Would you say, did you always have that Christian backing, or did you just slide into it through all of this, or how
Well,
did
for
you?
the Christian part, the truth is this, is that my dad is a bishop. But that doesn't mean that I became that because of my dad. Yes, the influence was there. But
Right.
at some point, you have to have a personal relationship
Right.
and understand what exactly you're doing. But yes, it played a big role in getting me where I was. And then also that time when we were coming up, there were very few groups doing secular. There was only BMW. Master G is right here in the States, was part of that group. And BMW had a song called Peace, Love, and Harmony. There's a fast,
I remember that.
It was a fast hip-hop group in Kenya. And then later on, after my time, came people like Kalamashaka, Hardstone,
Yeah.
and everybody else who followed after. But during my time, I think we were the first gospel rap group in Kenya at that particular time. It was actually a shutdown. Oh my God. Churches would not even believe that their kids can rap, because that time the thought was rap is actually devil worship.
Yeah.
You know, and we
Not
had something-
nothing churchish.
and we had something called a backward masking, where they'd say, oh, we can mask all your music, and you're saying, oh, let's love marijuana, or let's love the devil, or the devil and Satan is God. And people did all this crazy stuff.
Right.
But you see, it was part of our purpose.
Yeah.
I'm actually where I am right now simply because of entertainment. Nothing
Right.
else.
Right.
You know, I'm an authority in Kenya, I'm an authority in East Africa, I'm an authority in America.
Yeah.
You know, wherever there's entertainment, you cannot just brush me off and say, oh, okay, you didn't do anything. Or,
You've been there. You have
been
sunk
there.
a
I've been
deep
there.
footprint
Yes,
in it.
yes. And then it's in the imprint of time.
Right.
And the things that I've done, the things that I've achieved, whether directly or indirectly, are on the imprint of time.
Right. Let me ask you about rebellion. Growing up, did you have that kind of? I'm
Of course.
asking this with context as a bishop's son.
I'm the black sheep. I was the black sheep of the family. I mean, everything I've done has been totally different. You can imagine your dad is a bishop in the 80s, and you are the one who's organizing Miss Kenya.
Right.
How does he explain to his friends what you do?
Right. And at that time, being in Miss Kenya was just like...
Jesus. Because people, at some point, there'll be swimwear and everything. So how does he explain to his friends that, what do you do?
I can relate with that because my dad also, when I got into Miss Tourism, like he wouldn't understand, like, what am I getting into? What is this?
Yeah. And another thing also was the issue of that time, even when I started emceeing, MCs were never paid. So, because MCs were uncles, aunties who come to an event and MC for free.
Yeah.
So how do you explain to people that I get paid to talk?
I know. That's quite interesting. So, did it take rebellion? Therefore, like, did you appear as a rebel in the in going in that direction still against that?
I think I was a disruptor.
Okay.
Yes, rebellion is a very, very big word, which I think does not fit what we're trying to do. All we're trying to do was to fit in our time and in the time of our generation.
Right.
And the time of our generation, what we had to do or what we were doing was actually just speaking in our voice.
Right.
And in our language. The same way Generation Z right now is up on us with content and speaking in their own language and stuff, and all of us are like, "Oh my God, what are these guys doing?" They're just talking in the in the language of their generation.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely good. So here we are, Big Ted, big name. Suddenly you disappear for a bit, and when you reappear, I think the first time I saw you after you reappeared was in Mombasa during the launch of NRG radio. And it is a time that the interwebs are doing stories about the way Big Ted has lost weight. He's no longer big. Could you take us through that journey of what is it that got you having to cut weight that drastically, and how that was?
Number one was for me, this has just been an idea in my mind that all right, do I need to reinvent myself? And God has blessed me with an amazing gift that I'm able to reinvent myself for every season.
That's
and
beautiful.
What happens is, before every season happens, God puts some restlessness in my heart. And He's like, hey, change and everything. And I'm good at change. Although the first time I went into this, one of the first times, it actually almost took me down. This is when I lost one of my first companies I'd run for about 11 years. But anyway, so change is what brought me to that place. And I was like, okay, listen, you've been this 168 kilogram guy. And again,
very imposing, by the way.
I was in a meeting and I was called by some guy. He's like, hey, there's a doctor from India. He would love to meet the minister for health. I'm like, okay, no problem. The minister was my friend. I called the minister. I'm like, hello, sir. I have a big doctor from India. He has a 3,000-bed hospital. He would like to meet with you and understand what can they be able to do with us for everything. And he says, okay, come right now to Afia House. And we go to Afia House, straight into his office. I've never been there again, by the way, to Afia House.
Right.
And he tells me I have 10 minutes. And we talk, they exchange numbers. And as we're walking out, the guy tells me, by the way, I do, I'm one of the world leaders in bariatric surgery. I had no idea what that is. So I asked him, so what does that mean? So he says, okay, no, I can help you lose weight. I'm like, listen, I've had this story with many people and I've had all the myths.
Right.
Ignorance is bad. Ignorance makes you propagate things that you don't even know but it makes you comfortable because you don't know.
Yeah.
So you can say anything.
Yeah.
You know? It's like me talking about, I've never met Biden, but I
Right.
can talk any trash about him because I've never met him. And it, in my mind, it solidifies the thought that I don't know him. And with that, I'm able to say whatever it is I want to say. So anyway, tells me I can do this. I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. We talk, and then I asked him, okay, tells me I want you to come to India next month.
Right.
I'm like, okay, cool. He tells me I'll pay for your ticket, everything. I'm like, all right,
That's interesting.
That's a trip. Let's go. Head out to India. Only one person knew what was happening. That was my wife. And I told her, you know what? I'm going to India. I'm going to sort out this thing and everything. So we go to India. I get to India. The first thing I asked him is, will I die? And he tells me, listen, with everything in life, there's a 99% chance.
Right.
You know, of it being right, and there's a 1% of it being wrong.
Okay.
So I told him, okay, so let's do this. And he stays here 45 minutes, I'm out, totally different thing, and life just changes, you know, and it's been a great, great, great journey. It's been 4 years now, 5 years, 4 or 5 years. Amazing journey. I'll not exchange it for anything.
Right. Did you have like shock, like people not seeing you or knowing what's going on? Because, you know, I mean, the general perception out there when people see someone as cut weight, they start to say he's been sick and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the first
How
thing
did
which
you
we-
handle that?
I mean, well, one of the things, Tony, that I have learned to do with myself is I don't care what people say.
Right.
Yeah, Tony, I don't care so much that you can say the worst. What is the truth? Tony, I'm not the best guy in the world, but I live by the truth. The truth for me is what sets me free. Tony, am I a thief? No. Say anything you want to say.
You can't change that truth.
You can't change that truth to me.
Right.
So you can do it for everybody else. I told you, if people know that if they do something to you, it slows you down, then they have you. But Tony, what about somebody who can't hear? You abuse them how many times? They will know.
Right.
You know? One of the biggest lessons I learned was someone told me the other day is he died to his wife, meaning that he does not fight.
Right.
He does not argue. He doesn't put up a manliness thing of trying to show that I am macho enough and everything.
Right.
And he finished by telling me that nobody fights with a dead person.
That's interesting.
Tony, you cannot put yourself... I'm in the public limelight. I know the public limelight is expected to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
So, Tony, you expect people will throw mud at you. Tony, nobody... You growing up very well, I'm sure you know that there used to be these street lights.
Yeah.
Tony, there were those which were not working and those who were working.
Right.
Did you ever throw a stone at the one which is not working?
Of course not.
People only throw stones at shiny things.
Profound. Let's take a short break. And when we come back, you mentioned something about dying to the wife and not projecting the man to that man's wife. And I want to talk about masculinity and feminism, just lightly, or whichever way you want to do that when we come back. It's about time. TCTV 1, USA. Welcome back to TCTV1 USA and the Tony Shira Show. I'm hanging out with Big Ted, Ambassador Big Ted, Thomas Kwaka, that's the official name that he goes by. And we are at this studio, we are having a conversation. And just before we went on the break, I just asked you, you mentioned something about, being dead to the wife and mentioned masculinity. And I know that's a controversial subject. It's a lot of conversation going out there about toxic masculinity and, of course, feminism. We know we are coming from a span like a month or two ago when Kenya had a femicide wave, or what appeared, or what was said to be a femicide wave. What are your thoughts on masculinity and feminism?
Well, of course, with every perspective, you have to take where does it come from?
Yeah.
I can only speak from an African perspective. I'm an African. Unfortunately, I will not take any other position because I'm African. I can only speak as my people.
Right.
Number two, from a spiritual perspective, I'm a Christian. That is where I stand, and I make no apologies about it. I can only do what the Bible tells me to do, especially to do with masculinity. It says, husbands, love your wives. In fact, there is nowhere else it says anything else. It just says, love them as Christ loved the church. Now, it says that Christ loved the church and died for the church. You have to die to your wife. You have to give it to her. How many times do you want to raise up a fight? And most of the fights I've had, many of the fights, have been just ego.
Right.
It's just ego. I feel like I have to give you the final word. I don't have to.
Right.
And I'm learning to just suppress those feelings of I must still as a man fight. Yeah, still as a man fight. Number
So it
two,
has to be a conscious decision that you continually
make. Yes,
make.
it's a conscious decision. You know, I've been watching all these reels on TikTok whenever they meet these 80-year-old couples, and they keep on asking them like, "What is the secret of you guys staying this long?"
Right.
And the man always says, "Listen to her, listen to her, listen to." I mean, they're not stupid, you know, and you can't reinvent the wheel, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to be 80 years old and I still have a partner who we've been together for a while and we're able to have conversations or whatever it is that they have when they're 80. I don't know.
Right.
You know, and all that. Number two is women love leadership. And that's why people who are in leadership tend to attract a lot of women because women are built to be led. Yeah. And leading can be everything. It can be security.
Right.
It can be initiative. It can be effort. Okay, so you can be the best, but you don't show effort in the home. You can be a good father, but the woman wants a leader.
Right.
Okay, she wants a protector. And that's why we say that women upgrade. Upgrade doesn't necessarily mean that they'll go for a richer guy. They upgrade the things that they look for, which they don't have in you. So a woman would leave you or will break up with you, go marry a lesser guy, maybe financially, but makes her happy. He's so funny. Oh my God. The other guy had everything, but he wasn't funny or he wasn't present. So those are things which I am learning in my life right now as we go on. And the issue of femicide, I think one of the biggest things that we need to do as men, we need to be taught again how to take care of our women. And maybe the problem comes in the emancipation of the woman who is taught in our face to be so strong that the man feels, I don't have to take care of them. But I wish we go back to the days whereby if you see a man raising his hand to a woman, you stand there and say, hautamgonga kama niko hapa.
Right. It doesn't matter what
it doesn't,
the situation
and I don't even
is.
care who, if it's your wife, your husband, I don't care.
Right.
You're a woman, I stand with you.
Right.
You're a woman, you want me to cross you over? So there's also honor which comes with that. So it needs to be taught to the kids as they grow up. Not taught like in a way that you are more or less of a person than the woman. So the man decides, okay, then you do what you want to do. And then
So do you think the changing times, like with the girl child empowerment and them taking up positions also in leadership and all these positions, do you think that tips the balance in terms of men being able to stand in a place and say,
so this
you
is
can't?
my perspective. Women have led from time immemorial. If you look at the Bible, if you look in the Quran, if you look in ancient stories even of Africa, there have been women leaders. So it's not about them being leaders. Women are also born natural leaders. Your house is run by a woman.
But the reason I'm asking that...
Let me finish. Your house is run by a woman.
Yeah.
Okay, so them being in leadership doesn't qualify the situation we're in. It is them accepting to be in leadership, but still be led.
Yeah, so that's where I was trying to find an imbalance or a disconnect.
Yeah. When you confuse the two is when you start going south. Yeah. You can still be a leader. I mean, the president of Tanzania the other day, Madam Suluhu, Her Excellency, said that she goes home and she kneels before her husband. And but then there are two wives, her and somebody else.
Right.
And she kneels in front. And if you say that to many women, it's an abomination.
Yeah.
But your marriage is not better than hers.
Right.
And hello, she's the president. You are not. There is something that powerful women who submit know. And what is that? And I keep on insisting that even for men, we need positive role models. Tony, when you have an issue in your marriage, you cannot run to people who are not in a marriage for them to
For
advise.
the solution.
It will not work.
Yeah.
Because the story will always be the same. I always say, if you have 5 broke friends,
You're the sixth
then
one.
you're the 6th one. And the problem is your solutions will never go beyond, and this is life.
Yeah.
Your solutions for life will never go beyond the capacity of the 5 people you hang out with.
Right.
If the capacity of the mind of the 5 people is defeat, you will never be able to go through it. And that's one of the problems which group mentality brings, hard mentality. You know, people join in a fight, you don't know why you're fighting.
But you're fighting.
Immediately you're not on a fight.
Yeah.
You know,
You join
in an argument, even on WhatsApp groups. Somebody can join in just because they don't like you or they like the person who's talking, or they just want to muddle the water.
Yeah.
So I think for me, life right now is making a lot of sense. I understand why older people don't talk too much. You know, Tony, the day you realize you understand why God gave you 2 ears, 2 eyes, and 1 mouth.
To listen more, talk less,
See more.
see more.
You just look.
Beautiful.
Then shut up.
Awesome. Let's switch gears. You are in entertainment. You're doing well. Everybody knows you. You've been in radio, events. Now you know this whole talent business, and then we hear you're in State House. How did that happen, and what were the highlights
So,
in there?
Jimmy Gathu gets a call to MC. He can't. He works for a media house. Calls me. I go to meet this person. That's Aden Duale. I talk to him. He tells me, okay, we're waiting for someone to come. He introduces me to somebody about after 30 minutes. That is His Excellency William Samoei Ruto. The president tells me, okay, listen, I won't pay you too much. I want to see what you can do. Let's go. You do this event. I do the event for him. He's like, wow, I loved it. I'll introduce you to another guy next week. You can do for him an event. I go to the person, that is Uhuru Kenyatta, and I'm told, okay, MC this thing. I MC. He says, I love it. The next event was a joint meeting between the two, where now they were coming to join to make one party. And they called somebody else to MC. During the rehearsal, the 2 bosses ask, where is that guy? Or they say, fine, that's the guy we want for tomorrow.
Right.
Not this guy you brought. I'm fetched from the house. I come. I say, by the way, I won't charge you anything. I'll do it for free.
Wow.
I come. I do it. They're like, wow, we love you. We're going around the country. Enter people like Dennis Itumbi, Bruce Odhiambo, who tell me, listen, we're going around the country. Now you'll be our MC. So I'm on a truck every day with the president. We go to Nakuru first of all for the prayer meeting. And then we go travel all around the country. What do I bring to the table? Just a uniqueness and a perspective. I'm a very creative guy, so I know whenever I go to anything, I can't just be like what I was in the past one.
Right.
So we go round, we win the elections. No, before that, they ask me, Dennis Itumbi asks me to set up they're going to set up a media center at Catholic University. I go like, okay, what I can do, I can set up a media center, but I can set up another center below the media center. The place in Catholic University had a basement.
Right.
So I go bring beds, I bring TVs, PlayStations, pool tables. So the people working in the monitoring
Can have some recreation.
can sleep downstairs and everything.
Right.
And we do that, we win. And we're off to State House.
Right.
And let me shock you, So we went during the inauguration. I didn't even have a card to go to State House. One of the ladies called Sharon tells me, okay, I have a card, Mr. and Mrs. Let's go with together. And we go to State House together. I enter State House the first time in my life, and I'm seeing grass and everything, big buildings. Fast forward, we worked there for 2 years. We don't get onto the payroll. Finally, we get on the payroll.
What was happening? How were you surviving 2 years without being on the payroll?
Because I had a business which was going on, and then also God. Let me just be honest, Tony. I am a man blessed by God, and I was with you in the streets of Nairobi. Did you ever think I'll appear here as an ambassador? No. Okay, so I'm telling you, watch the next space. I'm going to appear here as somebody else again.
Right.
Because one of the things that I believe in, and my spirituality is very, very high right now, is the fact that the Bible says that no eye has seen, no ear has heard what God has in store. I always imagine that, what if I don't give God myself for him to use me as that thing of nobody has had? Bro,
Right.
I've gone down in history as the first person in our time and our generation and in our industry to be an ambassador. Whether it was for a day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 1 year or 2 years.
Right.
I have gone down in history. Again, I've gone down in history in the diaspora in what I've managed to achieve.
We'll come to that. I wanted to address an issue that is ongoing right now. People saying that, like when the announcement came that you're being recalled back to Kenya, a lot of people started saying, oh, it's the continuing wiping out of the people that were former President Uhuru Kenyatta's, cronies or, people. And the current president, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, is now wiping out all those people. And from what you've just said, the first gig that you actually did for Dr. Samoei.
Number one, you serve at the behest of the president. The behest means he decides how he wants you to serve. Number two, he kazi si ya mama ya mtu. It's not your right for you to be only an ambassador.
Right.
All right? There are the mothers also who have raised their kids in Kenya, who their kids also have dreams and visions.
Yep.
Okay, so everybody has a right to serve. As long as you're a citizen of Kenya in good standing, you have a right to serve.
Correct.
Number three, this is my and another line. It is never yours, it's just your turn.
I like that. Yeah.
It's just your turn. Now, those of us who grew up in the mtaa know very well that we used to play a game called drafts. And when you're playing drafts, Tony, if I'm playing with you, sometimes I decide I give
To
you
let you eat that
I
one.
give you one.
You eat that
and then
one.
me, I eat three. And then the one which I ate, I still put it where? It becomes what?
The king.
The king.
Right.
Tony, it is very prophetic. And watch that space. It happened in the Bible with Joseph.
Yeah.
It happened with David.
Yeah.
Anytime God gives it out, you may think that he's taking from you, but he's preparing you to be the king.
Yeah.
We did the same thing to William Samoei Ruto. Do you remember?
Right.
We did the same thing to Uhuru Kenyatta.
Right.
Didn't we speak badly about Uhuru and say Uhuru can never be a president, can never do this, can never do that?
Yeah.
How many times did you speak the same thing even about Kibaki?
Right.
So don't neglect the days of simple beginnings, but also understand the lesson of the season. What season are you in? Are you being trained how to handle rejection? Are you being trained how to handle withdrawal? Are you being trained how to handle everything? But let me ask you, what if it's a quick job? God has decided, listen, you guy, I need you, Sana, 2 years, 2 years, 2 years.
Right.
Even in the world, you have quick promotion.
Right.
And you can think it's actually a demotion. And let me tell you what my spirit is telling me. And my spirit tells me, Ted, God brought you this far. He can do it again.
Right.
God gave you this thing, he can do it again.
You know, not to cut you short, when I saw the news first, I had just come back from LA. I actually came to your office.
Yeah.
It was my birthday in February 26th.
Yes.
And thanks for the treat.
Yes.
The Marie biscuits and
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
very, very cordial. And I think I had the most beautiful experience any Kenyan would ever have in your office. But when I got here and got the news that you're being recalled, the first thing that I actually, because I like to write something on Sunday after church, which I call my take home from the service. And I was just writing, and the lesson that time was about Joseph, you know, his journey, the way he was thrown in the pit and all of that, and then he emerged on the other side so big. And I was thinking about your journey. And when I was writing, I actually thought, you know, while in Kenya, you did everything that anybody that is in that field would aspire to do. And the farthest you would ever go in Kenya was doing the same thing from State House. So then what next? Then you're sent to LA, Hollywood, like the entertainment capital of the world. And so one of my friends is called Steve Thuagi, was asking me, so what happens to your friend? And I told him, hey, relax. You know, because you know what? He rose in that sector within Kenya, and he's been in LA. He was put in LA with the tools to actually excel while in LA.
Yes.
The hot pot, the melting pot of entertainment, to get the best that he could, because beyond there, where else would you go? So he probably is going to be called back, but having gained all the necessary experience, and he had the tools to actually access anyone that he would have wanted. And so what would you say you've been able to achieve, you know, in that regard?
First of all, let me read for you Genesis 39:4-6. It says, and Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. And Potiphar put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted to his care everything he owned. One of the things that, Tony, I am heavily invested in is my faith. Tony, I'm so invested in my faith that I don't believe in luck.
Right.
I believe that God has set everything. Like, it is okay. In fact, when the news came, everybody was on my case. I didn't pick my phone for a day because people were calling me from everywhere and complaining. Others, by the way, others were calling me to get the moshene so that now they can go tell other people. And even till now, it happens.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mind. You know, Tony, it doesn't faze me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am Big Ted.
Right.
For the last 28 years, God has given me great and amazing victory.
Right.
Things which people will never be able... Tony, I've done things people will never be able to do in their lifetime, man.
Right. And recognizing that is an important thing, because, you know, I was saying the other day that people nowadays don't recognize today's miracles. In fact, I wrote about it and said God has been upgrading the miracle software. He's on version 2024.
Yeah.
You know, and
For me, this is what I say. Tony, I believe that God speaks your language. What is your language? How do you know, you the way you are, how do you know that God is speaking to you?
right.
Is it the word? Is it a book? Is it a movie? Is it something which happens? You're like, a bird flies, you're like, that is God. Or how does God speak to you?
How do you recognize that is He?
That is God.
Yeah.
And many times, God can speak to you and you don't know. Moses in the burning bush, okay? And Moses, when he was in the, how many times was he called? So Samuel, the first time. Samuel, second time. Yet he's sleeping next to the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah.
He keeps running back to his boss and asking, did you call me? 3 times. Like,
Yeah.
God can actually be doing stuff around you. You have no idea. And you're with him. Tony, my ears are open right now. My eyes. Tony, things are happening around me. If I tell you what has happened between now and then, you will think, no, it's a miracle. Tony, I know, I walk into a place, I'm like, okay, that is God, that is God, that is God.
Right.
And what does that do, Tony? It strengthens my faith that God has me in control. So I get to where I am right now. And I'm like, okay, I started off emceeing road shows in trucks. I can't go do road shows in trucks. What is it that God has? Now, I don't know. And let me just give you some analogy. The Bible says in Genesis that I'm taking you to a land flowing with milk and honey. You know, God is very clever. For you to get honey,
you must be ready to deal with the bees.
you must be ready to deal with the bees.
Right.
And for you to get a good cow to give you milk, pasture, like ile ng'ombe lazima itakiwe care of nicely.
Yeah. You're not just going to get milk.
No. So there is an element here that we never see whenever we lean on the promises of God. I'm learning. I'm learning that there'll be bees up at promised land.
Yeah. Awesome.
Tony, there are people who want what I have. You know, there's a song by Def Leppard called Sweet Dreams. Sweet dreams are made of this.
Yeah.
Who am I to disagree? I've
I
traveled
can't
the
sing to save my
world
life.
and the seven seas. Everybody is looking for something. Some of them want to use you. Some of them want to get used by you.
Some of them want to abuse you.
Tony, when you understand the writing on the wall, you'll be like, that's an abuse. Or that is me using.
Right.
So I'm very, very confident, and I speak this out this way about that. And one day I'll tell you guys what happened before I got the news, and then you will know that I know this God I'm talking about.
I will hold you to
Yes,
that.
yes.
I'll follow up on that because it's interesting. But before we come to this side of things, you know, for the first time with the Uhuru Kenyatta's presidency, with Dr. Samuel Ruto as the deputy, that is when State House kind of opened up to people. Like before that, everybody thought State House is just like another place. Like, you know, sometimes you even get there, you fear looking that way.
It's a dungeon.
Yeah, you know, like...
Yeah, it's a haunted house.
Yeah, like you can't even take photos. You can't, you know. So you get there, you change your walking style if you're walking by.
Yes.
You know, just in case someone might think you're a bad guy.
Yes.
How was it being in State House? How was it? I mean, were you hanging out with the president and the deputy? Like, how was it like?
No, two things. Number one is I was an employee at State House, but I was just an employee. And one of the things which one of my mentors, Mr. Richard Ngatia, taught me, he told me never tell the king your problems. Until today, I honor that particular conversation because many times what that it simply means usizoe mkubwa.
Keep your distance.
Yeah. Wacha kukuwe na heshima.
Or have your boundaries.
Let there be some respect and honor, you know, in the office the person is holding. Why? Because it's a very thin line between friendship and you abusing the friendship. I'm not saying I'm the boss, you can't walk in there and go like, wait, nimekuja. But there are days, there are times, there are everything, there are seasons, you know. So yes, occasionally we would 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times meet with him and we'd have conversations. I mean, I have intimate pictures with Ruto saluting me like I can share them with you, you know, with His Excellency now the President saluting me like a policeman. Now, what does that tell you?
Cordial. You are.
I have Uhuru Kenyatta, you know, high-fiving me and laughing, and I mean, he's called me and asked me, are you sure? I'm unanidanganya wewe.
Like you're having a good
like,
time.
I can't lie to you, the president, you know.
Yes.
So there's that part. But also I was blessed to be part of a revolution and a change. And there was a team there. There was a team there which, you know, of course, my good friend Dennis Itumbi, David Nzioka, Joe Murithi, my boss, Munyori Buku. These were guys who were determined to change how things were going to be done.
Right.
You know, Davey with tech and IT, James with branding, and then Dano with just being there, being vocal. Like he'll say anything, he'll push anything. Like, and then me, I'm the executor. I'm told, listen, Ted, the president must go into Matatu. Go tell him.
Wow.
So I just go. You know, if you have a kid and you tell your kid, Kambia William Tuyani Mjinga.
The kid goes.
Your kid will go and tell him, why Mjinga? So I was blessed to have to work with people who were determined to change history. And I'm proud of what they're doing right now. And it's something I really, really value. You know, but these are stories you'll never ever hear.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you the struggle to get the president to ride in a matatu.
Right.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I wanted to talk about that and also...
It was a big problem.
Yeah, talk about that and also
Tony.
include the highlights from your...
It was a big problem. It was a big problem. Those were very, very good highlights. And other highlights were just the knowledge that these people have. Let me tell you something about the current president. He's a master. Totally. He is... That guy knows what he's doing. I remember this day we were campaigning and we're in Kakamega State House. And I'm an early riser. Especially when I'm working, I go in very early. And I got there very early and I was in this room waiting, the waiting room, because other people were yet to come.
Yeah.
And he walks in and he asks, where are we going today? And I pull out a list. I say, okay, this is the route that we're going to use. He says, no, let's not go there. Let's not go there. Where are these other ones? He says, there. He says, what time are guys going to be ready? We told yesterday, 10. Okay, let's leave now. Like before even the other teams have come, we had done a route show of the route.
Just mapping.
When we came back, he says, you know what? We don't have to go there. We finished with it. Those guys saw us, tumemaliza. Shamba. Now let's go this side. Let me be honest. He's actually the one who came up with the idea of presidential campaign having those Prados with speakers on the roof.
Wow. Right.
So you do 10 at a go.
Yeah.
So all they do is they have a chopper, one track, and they hop. So before other guys do one,
You've
they've
done
20.
5, 20.
We come back in the evening, guys are struggling to finish that. So I learned great things from them. Working with Uhuru Kenyatta was, and for these guys, I think it was about demystifying the presidency. And that's one thing which, when we came in, I think will be remembered, and I hope history treats us right, and says that there was a group of guys who came here and demystified the presidency.
Yeah.
And now that has trickled down to how I operate even in the office here. So the reason I'm the way I am is not because I don't respect my office.
Right.
Or I don't honor my office.
But it's the changing...
it's the current...
changing face
of public service, you know, where you drop down to the person on the ground. You know, if it's giving IDs or passports, you should be able to be at a place whereby you can actually communicate with the common mwananchi and for them to understand. Let me tell you, half of the things in this world can be solved if we're able to understand each other.
That is great, man. That is great. And then while you were still at State House, I was in modeling and fashion and I mean the creative sector. An initiative came up and you were commissioned because there was a lot of hue and cry from artists all over, like we're not getting attention, we're not getting support from government, and people were up in arms, and the Creative Economic Council was created and that you were given responsibility to run that.
No. So let me help you. Nobody created anything. I created it.
Right. That was created. So.
I believe in setting up systems to be able to engage government. Government does not want to deal with one. There are 52 million Kenyans. But what if 10 million Kenyans came together and said, you can deal with us as one body? And having been in the industry for 28 years, I understood the fact that we needed to come together, and the things that we agree upon, we use them as gains. The things we don't agree upon, can we say, some let's work them out, some let's agree to disagree, you know, and see how it goes. It makes life even easier for government. If you look at many Western countries, all their trades and everything are organized in organized groups. You know, so it's easy to fund them because you know how many there are, you know what they're saying, and you know everything about it. So I just I called people together because thank God I'm respected enough to be able to call a meeting and people show up.
Yeah, I mean your authority.
Yeah,
like
and
we
when
said,
people come and we try to put together this thing. Now the next part was making it legislative, whereby it's actually recognized by government.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, 9 years later, we're still at the same place, trying to get it organized enough. Because you understand, even for Africa, Africa before the coming of the colonizer was just many chiefdoms and kingdoms. And then one day somebody came and said, kuanzia hapa mpaka pale, you guys are one country, mpendane na mtakuwa na president mmoja.
Na mnaitwa hivi.
Yes.
Right.
And that is why you have what you have in Africa of different pools in every area.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what we did with the Creative Economic Council. Government right now is in the process, and we have a few bills in Parliament trying to create a council now, an actual council.
Would you say Talanta Hela is a product of this whole journey?
No, Talanta Hela is a vision of the current president, you know, to try and put money in the pockets of the artists by trying to streamline some of those things. But Talanta Hela is an answer to a cry that we've had for the longest time. Now, remember, we're not the founders of the industry. We came and found other people before us. They found other people before us. So before that was the rumba boom of all those rumba bands. Ochenka Basele, you know, Shakatumba International, Dio Misiani, you know, Musa
Lewanyika.
All those guys were there. And then came Bruce Odiambo, Mombasa Roots, Safari Sounds, Mushrooms. And then that one came out. And then came the Zanazikis, the Bruce Odiambos, you know, who came. Then they came us. Then they came the Hardstones. And they came down until where we are right now. You know, with them on Facebook or something, Gengoton, you know, and everything. So it's the voice of different generations. And the hope is that we are able to pass the baton on to the next generation. And they can run with it, but with the gains that we've made.
Right.
As they said, you will never ever sit under the shade of a tree that you planted. You're doing it for your next generation.
Beautiful, beautiful. You are appointed ambassador, consul general to LA. How was that news broken to you? How did you learn it? What was that moment like?
All right, so mine happened very crazily. I just come from work. And I was driving home. I'd actually borrowed a car, my friend's car, and I was buying some shoes. I love sneakers. So the guy who was selling to me the sneakers, I'd never met him before, but we're driving to my house to try them on, and I pay. And as we're driving, I drive into my house, and we go to I was just at the kitchen. The guy was just there. So I'm trying to test the shoes, but I'm looking at missed calls. So I said, let me call back this number. I call back the number. And as I'm calling it back, the guy is still testing. And the guy, so it was from the office. And the person says, oh, by the way, nini bana boss is trying to look for you. How come you're not picking up the phone? I'm like, boss, you know, I was driving. He says, okay, anakupigia simu sahi. I had many bosses. Manoa Isipisi was my boss. Dennis Itumbi was my boss. Munyori Buku was my boss. James Murithi was my boss. I had quite a number of bosses. Right. So I knew it was just the office. Somebody was calling me. I'll find out. So I call. The call comes in, and I pick it up, and I hear, That is how His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta speaks on the phone.
Right.
And I panic. But the guy who panics more is the guy selling to me the shoes. Because he's there, he's wondering,
what's going on with voice. You? Wow.
So he tells me, oh, by the way, I want you to go to LA. And he gives me the whole narrative, and I ask him, oh, how many days? And he says, no, I want you to go stay there and work. I'm like, yeah, cool, take me there, you know? And here I am.
Come on, man. I mean, it wasn't just like that. So, like, who was okay, so there was this guy that you were there with. Do you recount the story to him? Do you tell him, I just got appointed?
No, but he's standing there, he can hear.
Right.
I'm trying to wear shoes. So the speakerphone is on, so he can hear.
Wow.
And from that day, he's one of my great friends right now. He calls me till now His Excellency.
Right.
So, and then the president told me that, listen, don't tell anybody. Let me be the one to tell, to break the news.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. At that time, did you really like embrace the whole responsibility of an ambassador, or did you now start
But did
studying?
I even know what an ambassador is meant to do?
So what was that space of time between now learning that and now
that
becoming?
space is blank because, trust me, half of it you're actually trying to find out if it's real.
Right.
Because who was there apart from this guy? You've been told not to tell anyone.
Right.
So is there a letter? Like, what evidence do you have?
Right.
And bro, that's the same thing with God. He promises you something in the dark in your house. You want to tell people, but people, you're wondering, these guys will think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
If I tell them that I'll be the ambassador, if I tell this guy I'll be the president of Kenya, how will they accept it?
Yeah. And you didn't have a diplomatic past like
No, I wasn't a career diplomat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a marketer by profession. That's what I do. I'm
Yeah.
a marketer. I know I'm in PR. I know how to set up stuff.
Yes. Wow. So do you start now reading, researching the jobs of an
Of course,
ambassador
you
and all
Google
of
it.
that?
You
and-
try and Google and find out, but it's thin. Let me tell you, diplomacy is about passion. It's not about what you've read. There's some horrible people in the diplomatic world with all the CVs and everything, but they can never help people. And I think that's why we're having so much problems in the world, because some of the people who have been made leaders are not leaders.
Right. So yeah, everything works out. I'm sure you're given the letter and everything, and the dates that you're supposed to report. And did you have any specific duties and reason to send you to LA and not anywhere else?
Of course, the idea is I've been in the creative economy for a very long time, and he felt that I would be the right fit for me to come to LA and be able to make some changes or see opportunities
Right.
that are there.
Right.
Yes.
What do you feel are your achievements in the time that you've served as Consul General in LA?
Number one, I think I helped demystify the consulate.
Right.
And that is important because people are now able to access our services without feeling that they're coming to a prison or, like you said, to a place that they wouldn't go. And by you being able to do that, other things have happened. Number one, I've tried my best to bring the community together and just develop. You see, this is how it happens. If the first option of the reason why we think angels are so cool is because they have this, or you think their hands are open and they're in white and it draws you in, even if it's not an angel, So I think one of the things that I did is that the diaspora, we've been able to get the diaspora to get plugged into the Kenyan psyche, the Kenyan plan. Of course, the next thing was how do we get them involved now in nation building, even if they're here in the diaspora. Number three is there's some crazy linkages which I've been part of. Some of them we started, but it's not time or place to shout and say that we did this, we did that, we did the other. But we've made some great strides in Kenya, for Kenya, opening some doors. And
You're being pretty economical with that.
And I'll be, because let me tell you something. If you want to know if somebody is effective, ask the people who he serves.
Yeah.
There's an MP who makes my day. And everybody thinks, oh, this guy is this guy is that, this guy is this guy is that. We all have our opinion. But if you go to the ground will tell you, listen, don't dare touch this guy.
Because they are the ones that
our
experience
guy.
him. They know.
That is our guy.
Right.
Yeah. So I believe that the diaspora that I've served, even the other side, will tell you that, you know what, I think you did your work.
I can attest to it, not because I know you personally, but I mean, prior to this, I also knew the Consul General was there before, Njeri Karagwa, the late. I knew her. I had known her from entertainment, in theater. But the way you revolutionized, the whole system in terms of access, and breaking the barriers in terms of like people being able to communicate with the embassy, and not necessarily even having to come there to ask simple questions, that you made it available that through the phone you can send a message to a group and people respond. Now, that is big.
That is one of the things, Tony. You see, I'm in about 200 WhatsApp groups in the States. And sometimes somebody asks a question and they just want to know that the ambassador will answer.
Yeah.
Or somebody will answer.
Yeah.
We're sold to this perspective about America that if you're in trouble, you just go to the gate of the embassy.
Yeah.
You're safe.
Yeah.
And I think that comes with, first of all, it must be intentional. And number two, it must be passion. I love people. I can't help it. I just love people, Tony.
Right.
And that's one of the things when I came here, I said, I'm going to be of service to the people. I'm going to try my best to make sure that the people get a guy who they can look up to and say, you know what, we love this guy. Number three, I like to be an inspiration, not only to my generation, even beyond. And I thank God that 99% are happy. 1% for their own reasons may not be, but it is okay.
Yeah.
Tony, I don't eat noodles. You do. It doesn't mean that noodles are bad. It just means I don't like noodles.
Yeah.
Right. I don't watch horror movies. You do. It doesn't mean that they're bad. It just means I do not watch horror movies. Yeah. My truth doesn't have to be your truth, but the truth is the only thing that sets you free.
Right.
What is my truth? I came, I saw, I have served with my blood.
Yeah.
And with that, Tony, I am comfortable. I packed my things the next day. The announcement came. All. I called a shipping agent. They're on their way to Kenya.
Wow. What if things were to change and people said you should? I don't know if it's practical, but I'm aware out there. I mean, people would love you to stay, because I want to ask you: do you feel like whatever it is that you set up, some of the projects that you've been working on, do you feel like this cut short some of those ideas? And do you feel like the next person that is coming in, you might not know him personally, or I don't know, but do you feel like it slows down some of the progress in the things that you had set up to do?
Well, this is the best thing about the system. The system works this way. You get a lead, you cultivate it, you send it on to the ministry or to the line ministry. So the idea here would be, do I push the ministry in Kenya to do this particular thing? One. Number two, I also believe in legacy. My legacy may have been I'm outgoing totally to the public. The next person may not be outgoing, but he may be the best business league ever. So I believe everybody has their legacy, their thing that they want to do. That's why at the beginning of every term of government, you present your manifesto. You pick something from the past, but also you add yours. Say, you know what, I'll build on this. So it is not a loss, it is a build-up of.
Okay.
So even this particular one is just building on, to the next level. But now also it depends on the strengths that you bring on the table. When I came, I found, there was this, how do I build on it? Yeah.
Right. I want to play a clip that I picked out of the internet.
The exiting Consul General, we actually went to the entertainment sector to fish Big Ted to be the Consul General in Los Angeles, hoping that we'll get a linkage and more partnerships in terms of the entertainment, considering that Los Angeles is the home of Hollywood and movies and entertainment industry in the US, which has not really happened. What do you think you would do different to ensure that there's some collaboration? It's really a bad situation where we see even shooting of movies that should be done in Kenya being taken to Zambia, being taken to South Africa. Number two, the issue, I've been to the Los Angeles office, and one of the issue that is very critical, honorable members who are there in this committee last term, is the issue of delayed visa for students. And they really struggle because the area is vast and there's no proper communication for students.
Let me just end it there. What would you respond to her sentiments, in her feeling that you didn't deliver? And sort of like, the insinuation is that they fished you out because you had this experience in entertainment and therefore you'd be the best fit for Kenya in LA to, bring all this back. And she feels like you didn't do your job.
Well, her truth is her truth. And she's my friend, by the way.
Right.
And I respect her a lot.
I also know. I met Honorable Mother when we were trying to build a Warembo na Kibaki way back.
And I cannot even comment about that because I don't know. I haven't spoken to her. When I speak to her, I can be able to give you a proper interview. But what is the measure of success? And what are the things that you will use to calculate success? Is it... What should you do?
So, like, I mean, listening to her, maybe the number of movies that are being shot in Kenya, I don't know. Is it? Would you?
No.
I kind of feel like it's.
I will choose not to answer that because, as I said before, I will choose to talk to her first.
Right.
Yes. Whether or not, by the way, anything happens, I just need to speak. She's my friend, and it's somebody I respect. I've met with her and we've broken bread. And everything. And let me tell you something. There must be a reason why she has that perspective. Yes. Is it entirely correct? Yes or no?
Okay.
Yeah, the jury is still out there.
Right.
But as I said before, we go back to the user and find out what are the issues around it and why can that happen.
Right.
And then this office has been there for 18 years. We are comparing it to what? To previous people?
I guess so. Or me.
Then,
I don't know.
if it's previous people, then I should
You're on
stay
the
for
top.
life.
Yeah.
So truth is truth, and with time, you cannot plant an avocado and expect a mango tree. I believe all the avocados I've planted everywhere will show up, including the weeds I've planted. Because I don't want to say I've not failed. I've failed in some areas. So they one day will sprout out and you'll be like, you know what? This tree is like this because the Consulate General did not do 1, 2, 3. But there'll be avocados. I am 100% sure of that.
Yeah.
I have tried very much not to get involved with any talk about a petition, blah blah. My mind is already in Kenya. But if you think about it, Tony, is my work here done? Jesus was on earth until when he was 33.
33.
Why couldn't God keep him here till he was 70? It's because his work was done.
Yeah.
I am very confident. And let me tell you, my friends have called me from everywhere, man, high and mighty. I've been called by senior government officials, junior, nondescript guys. And I've also had some sentiments. There's a group which was discussing this thing. And the guy says, but what has he done for us? Nothing. But it depends. What did he expect?
Expectations,
me to do?
yeah, absolutely.
You cannot go meeting everybody's expectation. But the things that brought you there, were they done? And are you leaving a difference? One thing I'm 100% sure. This diaspora and this office will never be the same.
I can attest to that. I'm in groups also, like with people in the UK. I'm in groups with people in the Gulf, and some of the things that people say is that I think all the ambassadors world over, or the missions in Kenyan missions all over the world, need to learn from the LA office, from what you started doing.
Yes.
But let's leave that subject and go to. In the time that you've been here, among the things that have been very, very controversial is the conflict that is emerging between the youth and the parents. Like parenting in the US has become a bit tricky. The youth feeling that the parents don't quite understand where they are at. And we are now talking about the third generation Kenyans who are here. What's your comment about that?
This is my thought about parenting. It's a different society. I said it in one of my previous interviews on Econ in Kenya, and various people came throwing jabs, but some came and said, "Oh, you know what? It's true. It's how you bring up your child." Some people are removing their kids in Kenya who don't have grounding.
Right.
So when they get here, they're moved by anything. Number two, there's also absent parenting. And one of the things that in this particular state, the kids have done, they did a research and they said that they were saying their parents came here for economic freedom. But they and the generation are looking for social freedom. Right. So you're fighting totally different wars. Mzazi is like, when nimekununulia gari, I brought you to America, you have a good house. The kid is like, yeah, but I want social freedom.
Right.
So it's almost like you've gone there and hustled and brought, and the person, it happens with us men. We toil, Tony. You don't sleep for so many days.
Yeah.
You come home and then your wife tells you, yeah, but you are not there for me. You're like, but I thought I was working hard for you.
Yeah.
She says, but that's not what I wanted.
I wanted you here.
So it's a very, very deep topic, and I have my own perspective on parenting here. I haven't parented here.
Right.
But I have a thought on what I'm being told and what I'm hearing. Let me tell you, I'm in over 200 groups.
Yeah.
And I know the topics when they come, what people do. I know the social structure. I know where there's a breakdown and everything. The diaspora, I think, just needs to be studied. Yeah, there are too many moving parts.
Right.
Yes, there's influence, there's identity, there is that aspect of parental oversight, there is where people are coming from, and the clash of cultures between this guy who was brought up in Kenya kutandika watoto and in a society where he cannot dare even point the child. So, yeah.
You, in one of the sittings that we had, actually the first time that you brought the mobile consular services to Seattle, in the dinner hosted by the Northwest Kenyan community, I remember you talking at length and telling people about your past. And I remember, I was listening to you say that you didn't have a degree by the time you were even given this position, and coming out here, it was just the grace that, hovers over you. And while you're here, they also conferred on you a doctorate.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I think, and for me, I never tell anybody I'm a doctor. I don't do that. The school that gave me that particular, it's a small school here, a small, humble school here in Seattle. And when it happened, Tony, I remember I was seated with a guy called Major. Major's a big artist. I sang this song, "This is why I love you." Oh, this is why I love you. Okay, my voice. And that day when I was talking to Major, I was telling him, oh, there's this school which gave me this thing. It's a small college in Seattle. And he told me instead, you know what? Do you have a degree? No. He told me, God has just tried to show you what your life is all about. It's about leaps. It's about you jumping degree, masters. Like God's favor is on you. And he told me it doesn't matter if people don't recognize the institution. He told me what matters is that the institution recognizes you. And for me, that changed everything, because he's all like, Ted, these guys have given you their highest
honor.
Like, it's like when you go to that shosho in Ushago, anaishi kwa nyumba ya matope, and she removes that mabati cup from that kabati.
Yeah.
You can go there and say, this is not porcelain, me I only eat with silk and everything, but she has given you her highest.
Yeah, my grandma, late, she passed on like 2 years ago. Every time we visited her, she would stop everything, get potatoes, kitunguu, some tumafuta over there, and some rice. And she would make, like, for her, that was like a special, Hakuna nyama, hakuna ati sijui nini madoido mingi, hata roiko ama whatever. It's just waru, and that rice mixed. I think I hear them calling it pilau njeri or something like that. Yeah. And guy, was that food tasty or what? And you felt like, personally, I felt like I'm even making her do too much. Like, she doesn't have to go all that way, but she loved me so much, and she knew she didn't see me as many times. So when I come around, she wants to go an extra mile to like make my time. So as you say, it's the recognition that they are giving you the best honor, in their establishment,
And that's what matters. That they have honored you with the highest, even if it's the least to you.
That's profound.
In the Bible, there's a story about a widow who came and put her offering in a box. And then came this rich, boisterous guy, and he also put his. But the Bible says that God honored the widows because the widow gave
everything. Yeah.
For a small institution to decide to give you
everything,
the highest honor, to you may be nothing. Because maybe I'm looking at Harvard, maybe I want Harvard. But they have given me the best that they have.
Awesome. Last time you were in Seattle, about 2 weeks ago or something like that, you had this moment that I say was like the sermon on the mountain. You preached, you guy. I mean, you didn't come through like the ambassador, like the government official. You, for the first time, I mean, this is my opinion, you spoke to people like a preacher. What one would say is like an ordained preacher. Tell us what inspired you to like handle that event that way. Like, instead of you making like the keynote speech that you would make, you actually gave a sermon. And it made me even wonder, I mean, are you planning to open a church?
It's not about opening a church. It's that God has set me out as a leader. And part of me being a leader is to just be in tune with what God wants and to be able to tell people what God is saying. That time when I stood up to speak, that's what he told me to say. I said it, just the way it is. Because understand something, that people are coming to you for leadership.
Right.
And leadership is a shepherd. A shepherd goes and says, I'll take my sheep to get some graze, to graze. At some point he says, I'll take them to the salt lake.
Right.
What is he trying to do? To give them different nutrition.
Right.
And I think as a leader, you need to be able to be so in touch with also your spiritual, that there are days you'll drop what is required. There are days you'll have a stick, And the only time a shepherd speaks to the sheep is when what is happening?
When calling them to...
Or when they're doing what?
When they're in the wrong places.
When they're doing the right thing, does he speak to them?
No, he lets them graze.
That's exactly what a leader is. You only speak, and God will speak to you, Tony, only when you're doing something wrong. When you're doing what is right, God lets you do it. You've now had a shepherd going to holler at sheep. Hey, sheep, master, you guys are eating well, but eat. No. But you'll definitely hear the shepherd calling them out from the bushes or telling them to go straight or telling them to go anywhere. And that's when you need to speak.
Right.
Yes.
Has America changed you?
No way, Jose. Actually, I always have a saying. America is Nairobi with good PR.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. What's different? Tell me, what's different?
Systems work, man.
So that's the only thing America has a head up over Kenya. Systems. It doesn't mean that everybody in this place is good. There are people here who has guys here want to jump the lights. The only reason you will not jump the only one
Yeah. Is you'll be
caught. So it's not that now we are good guys that we don't want. No. Even Kenyans, the day we put a system, like now we're introducing the speed cameras.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll see what Kenyans now will become now proper.
Right.
Yes.
We are drawing closer to the end of this interview, but I want to ask you, what's your legacy? What would you like to be remembered for the time that you've been here?
I want to be remembered as the guy who came and humanized public service. That now you are able to be with the government in areas that you actually need them. Let me tell you, when I'm bowling and I have $1 billion on my yacht, I don't care about the government. You want a government when you feel you need a service or you're under a threat. I attended a court session here. I've come for 2 court sessions here in Seattle.
Yeah.
And we sat there. I didn't know this young man. I left my functions, came to the courtroom, and I sat at the back. Do you know why? I didn't have to. I sat through 3 hours of court. I wanted, if that boy looks behind and sees me there, he sees his country, he sees his president, he sees watu wao hapo nyuma yake. That whether he is jailed or not, he knows his people
with him.
have his back. And for me, it needs to go down to businesses. It needs to go down to community, to the diaspora, to everything. That wherever you are, Tony, you're serving here, you're nursing, you're a caregiver, but you look behind, you're like, I know the government has me. Why? Because the ambassador is here.
Right.
And the ambassador knows the president is behind him. The president knows the whole country is behind him.
Yeah.
They know if we touch this guy, it's a wrap for you. That is what I want to be known for.
Awesome. Do you want to snake?
Oh, and the last one
Right.
is I want to be known also as the guy who helped bring the community together. It's growing on me right now that we need the diaspora to get organized under an umbrella. There are too many opportunities here we're missing. And there are too many threats here which we are suffering from.
Right.
We need leadership in the diaspora.
Is that even possible?
It is possible. What's happening, Tony, and understand it. The older guys are finishing their race.
Yeah.
The first generation Kenyans are finishing their race.
Yeah.
We are second generation.
Yeah.
The first are finishing, and their hand is out with the baton, but there's nobody to take the baton.
Doesn't that spell doom of some sorts?
Yes, but the Bible says that the Lord shall provide himself a sacrifice. That he already knows that it is for his glory for something to happen. So he'll raise some people.
Right.
They use the means, he'll bring people, you know. Have you ever wondered how come God would have asked for a horse when he was walking into Jerusalem? But why did he ask for a donkey? It was available. So God is going to raise available people to do this thing through the media. He'll raise people through activism. We now, in Seattle, we have a one council woman who's a Kenyan.
Right.
Sadly, she wasn't voted for by Kenyans, but God will raise people But the people also must realize that it's God raising them and not themselves. So they'll go in there with the power of God, not their own. And on the unity part, everybody go in there knowing that you're backed up by God. Tony, the Bible tells me that where there is unity,
God commands a miracle.
Commands a blessing.
A blessing.
Like there is no choice. As long as we're together, God says we must bless those people.
Right.
So that's why we must come together.
What word would you give to the Kenyans? Do you think the diaspora out here in, you represented about 17 states in the West Coast. Do you feel like the diaspora here is doing enough towards even like presenting themselves as serviceable by the office that you represented?
Let me ask you first of all, what service do people want?
Passports, renewal of passports, IDs.
I want to inform you that the State Department for Immigration Services handles the passports and IDs. Mm-hmm. The consulate or any station is just a Huduma center for the State Department. Mm-hmm. Any problem in Kenya affects the delivery in the station.
Right.
So if there's a problem in Kenya and it's been in the news about passports, a delay in passports,
right,
surely we are only a processing station.
Yeah.
If there's a problem in Kenya, it means there's a problem in the stations.
Yeah.
But for me, the problem is there's a problem in the station. How are you communicating to your people? That is my responsibility.
And that's important.
And I tell everybody, if this problem is systematic, HR, I will handle.
Right.
But if the problem is production, then I can't because it's way beyond my...
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
The other thing is about visas. The Kenyan embassy does not have jurisdiction over American visas.
Yeah, because that's a question that people have asked me, even me, like, okay, I know Ted is your friend. Can you ask if he can get me a visa to come to the US?
2 years later, my small sister has not come to the States.
Yeah.
My brothers have not come to the States. My cousins have not come to the States.
Right.
Am I that bad not to bring my people first?
No.
My best friends are still in Nairobi.
Right.
I would have filled my people up here. But because it's the jurisdiction of a different... It's part of the Constitution, Chapter 1. It's about the sovereignty of any state. That they have a responsibility. People call me and go crazy about visas. I go like...
I can't help.
Yes. And when I become a normal mwananchi, I'll also just go to Gigiri like everybody else.
Right.
And wait to be given a visa. Yes. So it's something which is which is out there.
Right. In closing, what is your word to the world?
I'm trying to process this season that I'm in and understanding what is the next big thing. But one of the things that has been playing in my mind a lot is if God has done it before, he can do it again, Tony. And God blessing you, God blessing me doesn't rob you of your blessing. Like there's no crisis in heaven right now. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Tell us not, they have taken Ted's job. It's been recalled. Oh my God. God is not in panic because of what has happened. It is written on the palm of his hand.
Right.
All we have to do is prepare for the next one. That is why the Bible says that as far as your eyes can see, so shall I give. The problem is, or the question is there a problem with your eyes?
And you certainly don't have a problem with your eyes.
No way, Jose.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's been our time with Big Ted, the outgoing Kenya Consul General in LA. Great honor, great time spent here. I thank you all for joining us. My name is Tony Shira. Remember, if this is the first time you're joining us, please subscribe, like, and share this video. And If you have a story that you would like us to tell, feel free, contact us. Let's have this conversation. Again, God bless. My name is Tony Shira. TCTV1 USA.